Hello and welcome to Thursday Night Live. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for tuning into the show today and spending part of your Thursday evening with me. So this week's topic is brought to you by our very own Ahura, who left me a note on YouTube asking, hang on one sec, here we go, asking if I would talk about the topic of the difference between self-discipline and willpower. And I invite you, if there's a topic you would like for me to cover, reach out to me, send me a message on Facebook or drop a note in the, not in the chat, but in the comments section of the video. And I will add it to my list and, maybe cover it. You just don't know. Anyway, so tonight, self-discipline versus willpower. And so many people think that self-discipline and willpower are the same thing, and they're related and they're intertwined together, but they're really not the same. Now, both are needed for us to achieve the goals in life, for us to reach the things and accomplish the things that we want to. But self-control relies on routines and established habits. It's our ability to control our behaviors and stick to our decisions. And especially if those decisions are what we perceive is right, regardless of how you feel about it. So as an example, so I love to use this example. It for me is doing yard work, not on my top 10 list, but I know it needs to get done. And so I have self-discipline that when the grass gets so long, I just go and I mow it. I suck it up and I just go do it. But one of the ways of creating more self-discipline, or the way that it forms, is we have habits. There are things that we do on a regular basis, and they create routines. And those routines create a way of life. And if we had more self-discipline in our lives, perhaps we would eat better. Maybe we would avoid alcohol or not smoke. Maybe we would lose weight or achieve those goals that seem elusive to us. Another kind of talking about habits and creating routines, there's going to the gym. Now, if you go to the gym the first time and you're like forcing yourself to go, and you maybe have a good time, but if you sit there and say, this is my schedule, this is what I'm going to do, and this is my routine, then after a while, it comes to the point where it really does become a part of your life. And I have to add this caveat, because part of self-discipline is actually doing the things that you say you're going to do. So I like the rowing machine. I row 3 days a week, like really far on the rowing machine, but there are days that I don't want to do it. And it's really great because I hear my boyfriend in my head that's saying, losers don't quit and quitters are losers. And so I will sit there and stay and complete my routine because it really supports my ability to have self-discipline and do what is in my best interest. Now, if we lack self-discipline, one of the ways that you can find out if you lack self-discipline is if you are a procrastinator. People that are procrastinators typically do not have very good self-discipline in their lives. And many times it's hard to start something that you really don't want to do. So let's say you want to quit drinking, and your partner or your family is like, you drink too much, you need to quit. And so you quit for a couple of weeks, but it's not something that's coming organic from you to make you go, you know what, I'm done, and walk away. Another personal story, maybe a little too personal, but I have known for a very, very long time that I had issues with dairy, milk products. And so I really limited my exposure to eating them, although I cheated a lot. And if it was embedded in something like pancakes, I just didn't think about it and I would eat it anyway. And would kind of pay the consequence, to pay the price about it. But then I got a job working at Starbucks, and just to like get me out of the house. And I moved from working on the register to over at the bar making drinks. And if you think about it, Starbucks, a lot of milk, a lot of milk, a lot of milk. And one of the things you have to do is you have a little towel and you have to wipe the wand off in between drinks, because you might have soy milk or 2% or whatever. And it was just a not pass the buck along kind of thing. Anyway, within 2 weeks, I had a rash on the palm of both of my hands, which I did go to the doctor for, and found out I had contact dermatitis. And it's like, so what am I doing that's different that would have created it? And it was the dairy. I was touching the dairy, and that it did that to my hands. And in that moment, I became extremely hardcore about I won't eat dairy. I mean, I just won't do it. And it didn't become like I have to fight with myself about it and have willpower and have boundaries and this and that. It was just like, it was a done deal. If consuming that or touching it did that to my hands, what was it doing inside of me, which is where it was creating the issue. Okay. And the same thing I'm going to throw out, the same thing happens in relationships. A lot of the times you stay in a relationship with hope, but then one day you get the look, and you see them in a certain light, or something happens and it's like, I'm done. And you just walk away, and there's not any guilt or heartache. I mean, there might be loneliness and other things tied to it, but as far as that person is concerned, you're done. And those are the things that make having self-discipline makes that easier. But one of the other things about self-discipline is when you display or exhibit self-discipline, the reality is you are making a commitment to yourself. You are loving yourself, and you're doing things for yourself that are in your best interest. And it's interesting because research suggests that self-discipline is a more important indicator of success than someone with a high IQ. So take that into consideration. Isn't that interesting? So set a goal, monitor your behavior, and then maybe do it, and then do it again, and do it again, and have that be a habit and something that you incorporate into your life, because it is something you want. And maybe that's part of what you need to figure out is this something I really want? And then use that method to move forward on a daily basis with it. Okay. Willpower is the other piece of the equation. So the basic definition of willpower is our ability to resist temptation. So you go into a room and there's a box of Krispy Kreme donuts sitting on the counter. Willpower says, I'm on a diet. I'm not going to eat that Krispy Kreme. And it's, especially if you want to lose weight. But it's also our ability to delay gratification. And so what that means is, I'm not going to do this now. I'm not going to eat now. I'm going to eat in an hour, or I'm going to eat in 2 hours, and making an agreement with yourself. But it's also the conscious regulation of ourself, especially when we're under pressure. Excuse me. From a very energetic perspective, willpower is tied to the third chakra, the chakra that is in the stomach area, which controls our will and our willpower, our ability to use our will with relationship to ourselves, and our ability to use our will in relationship to other people. And there are many people that force themselves to do things. Now will is really good on the short term. You can skip that donut. You can do stuff. But many people live on that third chakra, adrenal stress energy, where they're constantly forcing themselves to have to do this. Now, this is going to sound like a mean example, but it's a real example. Individuals who have older parents and they are the primary caregiver, maybe not full-time caregiver, but the primary person that is interacting with them, they can't say no. They can't say, Mom, I know you just fell, but I'm not going to come over, and so they really have to use their willpower to go and provide that service to the person. But many people that live on that kind of energy end up having burnout, adrenal burnout, and then they end up having to force themselves to work harder and do more. So if you find yourself living on willpower, maybe it's time to become mindful about it. Maybe it's not yours. And maybe if you find that you're a procrastinator, maybe you need to set up a goal and come up with a routine and say, okay, every day between 3 and 4, I am going to do X until I complete this goal. And if you're not quite sure which one you're lacking, we're constantly talking about mindfulness on the show. And if you're beating yourself up, maybe it would be helpful for you to stop and take a step back and determine whether the issue you're having is a will issue, a willpower issue, or having a little self-discipline issue. Because then you can sit there and use that information to start making changes within yourself and in your life. Man, that was a little rough, but I got through it. See, because I have willpower and determination, and I have a routine because I'm here every Thursday night with you with a new topic. So again, if there's a topic you would like for me to talk about, please let me know because I really am open to suggestions. If you're listening to this show on one of the other platforms, Rumble, BitChute, Substack, Twitter, and you want to join the fun and get an on-air psychic reading, please come to my YouTube channel. That's Just Energy Radio on YouTube. Just Energy Radio on YouTube. Hit the live link and join the fun. This show is also brought to you by soulhealer.com, where you can reach out to me to schedule a private consultation. Maybe you're having an issue with your weight. Maybe you're having an issue with emotional regulation. Maybe you're in a relationship with a narcissist and you need to talk about it. Soulhealer.com. I always respond. It's also brought to you by the Institute of Applied Energetics. That's appliedenergeticsinstitute.com, where you can learn to become a medical intuitive counselor, or certified energy medicine practitioner. And if you go to that page, you can get my free 50-page guide, Jumpstart Your Intuition, which will get you started on the path of you recognizing and validating the intuitive gifts you already have. Alrighty, and that's appliedenergeticsinstitute.com. Okay, so I'm going to go and we're going to change gears and I'm going to go into the comments area. I know that there's already a ton of comments, even though everybody was late. I was in here 15 minutes early and there was nobody. Where were you? Where were you? Anyway, all right. So first up is Master Player Radio and Television Evening. Pass me a number 1, please. You sure can, Master Player. Okay. And that's your card for today. Okay, so Master Player, I'm getting 2 different energies, but they're both going toward the same thing. I feel like there's something out there that you are wanting to, and I'm going to say achieve. And there's part of you that is like laser focused and locked on, and this is where I'm going. And there's a lot of power with that vibration. And then there's this other side vibration that just has this very failure energy, like I suck, this isn't ever going to happen. And I guess if I think about it, we all go through that, and I want to acknowledge that I am going to make the bet that that weak, cranky, it's not going to work out part of your personality is actually your ego and your inner critic trying to get in the middle of what you want to do and accomplish. And so if that's the case, acknowledge it, tell it to shut up, and go for that other energy, because it really does seem very laser focused on achieving this goal. Okay, so don't listen to it. Don't listen to it because it's a liar. A liar. Okay. Hi, Unar. Nice to see you. All right. So ERRT Radio. I guess he was here earlier and was waiting. Okay. All right. ERRT Radio says, hi, Dr. Rita. Can I have a reading number 3, please? Thank you. You sure can. ERRT Radio. Oh, and just put it in the comments. So I am so close to finishing the house. I am so close. And I was thinking about putting together a video of like start to finish because I got a gajillion pictures. Would that be something you guys want to see? Let me know because I'll do it for my intro video. Anyway, ERRT Radio, that's your card for today. What I'm seeing for you is I feel like you have a number of choices being presented to you. I mean, almost like they've been kind of thrown up in the air and you're having to kind of figure it out. Okay. The impression I'm getting is that any of those choices are okay choices, and I'm going to say good choices. I feel like any of them will get you on the road to where you want to go. I feel like all of those different pieces are actually pieces of one bigger whole. And it really doesn't matter which one you start with or which one you end with, because they're all going to get you there. I feel like the energy on them, does it feel good? Does it feel bad? Whatever. Seems about equal, and that might be why it's being a little bit more challenging sorting through that energy and that material. So just pick one and start, and have self-discipline about it and go for it. Okay. And Don's here. Hey, Don. Says, hi, Dr. Rita. I do hope you're feeling great. I'm here early. Woo, Don, you're here early. Could you Could I please get a number 2 reading? You sure can, Don. Okay, and that's your card for today. So, Don, when I look at your energy, it's okay. It's a little hard for me to separate out. Are you just tired today? Or are you in the middle of kind of an emotional release? I just feel like, I mean, it's interesting because this card would not necessarily suggest that, but you know, I don't always necessarily look at the card. You know, I look at your energy first. I'm feeling more like it's an emotional release that's leaving you feeling tired. And it's okay to have an emotional release when people have experienced, and I'm going to say a lot of trauma, when they've experienced a lot of crap in their lives. Many times there's just stuff that is stuck in there. And when we have the opportunity to let it go and have it drain off of us, it helps to move us into a new level. So don't be upset with it. Don't be mad at it. Don't be mad at yourself because you are in a releasing period right now. I feel like it's going to last a couple of days, if that. Say goodbye to it. Thank it for whatever it did for you at some point in time in your life, and then watch it as it goes. See ya. Don't come back. Okay. Okay. Unar says, "May I have a number 2 tonight?" You sure can. And that's your card for today, Unar. Okay, interesting. So I get the impression that I'm going to maybe tie this to a person, but there's a situation going on that you're not really liking. It's not necessarily affecting you personally, but as you are watching it unfold, I feel like it's really bothering you. And I feel like you have chosen to not say anything because it's not really your place. And I feel like you are maintaining restraint. That's a good way to say it. You're maintaining restraint. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not feeling like it's your place to get in the middle of that whole mess anyway. Now, there's definitely like a but tied to this. If they ask any questions, if they want your help, if they ask for your input or insights, and even slightly open that door, step through, say what you have to say, do what you need to do, because now the invitation has been set. Okay. And again, you guys, if this stuff makes sense to you, let me know. I would appreciate it. Okay. So Yvonne says, "Hi, Dr. Rita. You look great." Thanks, Yvonne. Can I get a reading number 2, please? You sure can, Yvonne. Uh-oh. So if there's anybody new or hiding in the background that hasn't said hi, these are called mask cards, and they usually turn up where there's an energy that's blocked, or there's denial around a situation, or you don't want to look at something. So I usually will pull cards until I feel like it clears. Okay, we're going to go with this one. Okay, so just one card. So, Yvonne, I feel like you are in the middle of a situation where you're using all of your willpower, well, maybe not all of, but a bunch, and self discipline in order to keep something going. I feel like you're not real happy with it. I feel like you're not comfortable, or it's not practical for you to just quit and walk away. Um, okay, again, I don't know like what this thing is, but if you are doing this thing at this particular location, whatever, with the hope that it's going to lead to something bigger and better for you, I'm not getting that. If you're there because they're giving you money and you need the money, different story. Um, I mean, I feel like if that's the situation, then things will kind of cycle back and be tolerable in a little bit. How's that? What a pain. Work is a pain. Okay. Amy. Hey, Amy. And she says, hi, Dr. Rita. Happy Thursday. Can I have a number 2 reading, please? You sure can, Amy. God, I have no freaking brain today. Okay, Amy, let's see. And that's your card for today. Okay, interesting. So, Amy, what you're showing me today is I feel like okay, I'm not sure if this is a new revelation, a new way that you're seeing the world and life. A little hard for me to make that separation in such a quick piece of time. But I feel like when you look out, you are seeing all of these obstacles and issues and problems and stuff. And I feel like you have been really good at navigating around them and not like, I'm not going to touch that. I'm not going to touch that. I'm not going to get involved with that. And just doing your thing, moving forward, being very aware, being very conscious of all this other stuff that's out there that could suck you up or be a pain or create chaos in your life. But you're doing an excellent job at skirting all of those things. And so if you weren't sure about it, I want to validate that for you. Great job. Okay, let's see. It's Bradley. Hi, Bradley. And hi, Michelle. Nice to see you here. If you'd like a reading, just let me know. And Bradley says, always a good lesson. James says, long day driving, listening. Hey, James, nice to see you. That's James Arthur Yanchik, the Black Knight of talk radio. His radio show is Feet to the Fire Radio, and I think it's f2fradio.com, something like that. And actually, James and I, when I hosted my first podcast, he was the person that hosted my show on his network. So we go back forever. So Bradley says, I got a new John Deere S100 17.5 horsepower. So I'm guessing that's kind of a mower. I don't really know anything. Anyway, and he says, took self-discipline not to gun it. Well, that's no fun. Christine, weren't you here already? All right, maybe not. All right, Christine says, I have a reading number 2, please. You sure can, Christine. And that's your card for today. Christine, and I'm going to start with a question. Have you been feeling, and I'm going to say kind of spacey lately? The energy you're showing me is like you want to reconnect with yourself. You want to get your body to be more grounded. I feel like normally you are more grounded, but like right now, it's the picture you keep showing me is like you're having this out of body experience and you keep looking at yourself going, no, wait, I want to be there. Yeah, and I want to feel calm and I want to feel safe and I want to feel grounded. And I feel like you're not feeling all of those things right now. Not that it's overwhelming, but it is noticeable enough to you to create, I'm going to say, some concern. You know, breathe, go for a walk, go do some exercise. You know, we talk about all these tools about grounding. You can go on my website, soulhealer.com, and in the search thing, type grounding, and an article about grounding your body will come up. And there's an MP3 audio file that will actually take you through a grounding meditation that's on soulhealer.com. And that might help you also. You know, I just want to acknowledge the kind of discomfort. I mean, it's not a physical discomfort, but there's a discomfort that I'm seeing in your space today, which seems a little weird. So, all right, let's see. So we have True Colors, Ray True Colors. Hi, Ray. You're a new face here. Welcome. I'm assuming you would like a reading and you would like number 2, and I can sure do that. And that's your card for today. Ooh. All right, you know, I just call it like I see it, and I hope I don't insult you in any way. But Ray, when I look at your energy, I feel this very big and bright energy on the outside that is projected out into the universe and projected to people around you, and that's who they think you are. But what I keep seeing, and this is the part you might not like, is I feel like there is this little person in the background, kind of like holding a flashlight up, projecting this energy, but it's not necessarily the true you. I feel like the true you is kind of quiet and a little shy and a little afraid to put your true and authentic self out there on display. And so you put this other, and I'm going to say it this way, persona out there. Not that it's not a great persona, but I feel like who you are on the inside does not equal who you are on the outside. And it doesn't mean that who you are on the inside is a bad person or doesn't have great energy. There's no judgment about who you are on the inside, but I feel like you tend to hide that person and hide that part of yourself from the world. So there. All righty. All right, hang on. Hey, Eric, nice to see you. All right. So Unar wanted to know, are your books on Amazon? Yes, Unar, all of my books are on Amazon. They're also available on my webpage, soulhealer.com. almost all of them, not all of them, are available in a Kindle version, so you can get a Kindle version. But you would have to look up the individual books, I think. You could try typing my name. I'm not really sure what would come up. But if you're not sure of the name of the books and you want to get it on Amazon, go on my webpage. They're all listed there. Actually, I can do this. Here. Bam. And now they're scrolling across the bottom. All right. Let's see. I lost my place. There you go. Okay, Unar. And then Eric says, I just had an MRI today. Can you see what my right knee will do? So Eric, no offense, and I love you, but all I do is I do a 1-card reading. I don't answer questions in this show. So I will pull a card for you. Your right knee. Okay. I mean, I'm kind of doubting that the cards will have a knee answer in it, but who knows? We're going to do 2. Okay, so that's the card that came up for you. Okay, so this is what came through right away, and this does actually kind of relate to your knee. So I feel like the universe has been kind of bombarding you with information of this is what you're supposed to be doing, and this is the way to take care of it, and this is the way to deal with your knee. I feel like you ask questions, but you're not really listening to the answers. So I would like to suggest that you listen to the answers, even if they're freaking weird. I mean, I get all kinds of weird stuff, but usually it's right. And as the show is about self-discipline and willpower, it will require a certain level of self-discipline and willpower. And Eric, if, a question like that, you would need to set up a time with me so we can talk about that more specifically, okay? Outside of this venue. Soulhealer.com. All right. Master Player says, right in the basket on this one. Thank you, Rita. Well, yay, Master Player. Thanks for the great feedback. So Christine says, yes, I'd like to see the progress on your pictures. Okay, so when I'm done, because I have not hardly downloaded anything off my phone. Okay, but we're all friends, and I tell you guys everything. I tell you so many freaking stories. But guess what? I have indoor plumbing now. That was the most exciting freaking thing. Indoor plumbing. Anyway. Okay. Amy says, absolutely would love to see your start to finish picks. Okay, will do. ERRT Radio says, now you've made this a challenge. I always want to challenge people to learn and grow. Don says, thank you again. Yes, on point. Well, excellent, Don. I'm glad to hear that. Okay, well, see, and I picked a number 2 for you, even though, oh, there we go. Even though, it probably wasn't the answer you're wanting, but you need to, set up something outside this venue. I don't think I did, Amy, but because I think it was you that I was talking about going in and around obstacles and just keeping out of other people's stank. But I'll pull another card for you because I don't, you do this kind of work and the memory retention is about 2 seconds. You move on to the next person and whatever energy I was sitting in has gone. So I'll pull you a new card because I love you. And if it's the same card, I'll totally crack up. Ooh, you shouldn't have asked. You shouldn't have asked. That's what came up. All right, but this is underneath it, and I'm going to go with that card. Oh, interesting. But see, if the one that I was talking about, you moving around and avoiding all kinds of crap around you, if that was you, which would fit with this card, Amy, I get the impression that you've kind of, I'm going to say, moved up an energy level. I feel like things are falling into play differently. You're interacting with the world differently. I would make the bet that a couple of weeks ago, these last couple of weeks, that the world has been really challenging. And, I like to think that when we're leveling up and we're moving to another level of our inner evolution, that the universe sends us tests. And to see, did you learn the lesson from this last phase? And I feel like you did learn the lesson, thus the challenges you maybe were experiencing, and you've had the opportunity to level up. And I feel like, not that there's not crap everywhere, but that it's easier for you to deal with it. Like it's not sticking to you in the same way it used to stick before. If you're not sure of that, when something happens, see how you react and see if it's, reflect back. If it was a year ago, if it was 5 years ago, would I have acted and reacted this way? And my response is no, you would have not. That's going way in the bottom. All right, so James says still driving. Why is it doing that? Still driving. But James, I'm going to do a reading for you anyway because you're driving. And I'm going to do a number 3 for you. Okay. And that's your card for today. So James, what I'm feeling is that this card is wanting to talk about your creativity, and I know that you're a creative person, but I'm feeling like that creativity is in this moment or recently been stifled, that you've had too many other things going on, that you haven't felt maybe real motivated to do and interact in a more creative way. But I'm feeling like your soul is missing it. Like you need that as part of who you are and what you do. So maybe that's something that you can schedule into yourself and your life, because I feel like you would be happier if you have those moments of creativity on a more regular basis. Yvonne's, oh, really? So Yvonne says, I'm letting go of the pod, not into it anymore. Interesting. Did you ever get rid of that guy? Anyway, okay, cool. All right. Chris and Jerry says, hi, wondering if you might comment on this. My mother-in-law passed on May 25th. My mother passed on May 25th, 30 years ago. A swallow flew into the house as my husband was coming out the door and quickly flew back out. I looked it up and it said swallows meant freedom, hope, and returning home. Huh. Interesting question. I'm not really sure I have commentary. I do believe, that birds tend to reflect, especially if there is a death or a person, that birds will show up. So the bird thing, I get, and, I totally get that. And it makes sense to me that, sometimes they'll come, I'm going to say it's like messengers. Your mom and mother-in-law passing on the same day, 30 years apart, it's a very weird and interesting coincidence, but I'm not sure I have a response for that. I have a friend who, and I'm just going to kind of, I know it's the 17th, and I can't remember if it was like April 17th, June 17th. It was something 17th that like everybody freaking dies on this guy, and he was afraid that his dog was going to die because the dog wasn't doing well on whatever 17th. And so there are people that sometimes that pattern shows up in their life. So I wish I had a better commentary to that. Okay. Okay, so Ray, I already gave you a reading, a number 2, since you asked for a number 2. All right, Christine says, thank you. On point as always. Yes, I have been feeling spaced out today where I'm trying to get myself back together. And Christine, sometimes that happens. And so don't beat yourself up about it. And, now that it's getting a little later in the day, maybe something you could do is to like take a hot Epsom salt bath, put the little eye mask on, put some essential oils in it, some music, just to kind of calm your body back down to make it more relaxed for you. That might be a good intermediary thing to do. Okay. So Ray says, honesty is my number 1. Ray says, yes, you nailed it. Excellent. Thank you, Ray, for the validation. And then Amy says, thank you for validating that I am working on navigating. See, I knew I did a reading for you, Amy. Thank you for I'm navigating through the mucky stuff that's really not mine, using discipline to stay in my own lane, heading to the tip jar. Yeah, so like Amy, y'all could head to the tip jar at soulhealer.com/live and leave a little something in there for me. I would really appreciate it. That's again, soulhealer.com/live. Okay, so Amy, you have another reading that I just did. And then ERRT Radio says, Bam, I like how she makes that happen. Okay, not sure what that is. And Eric says, thank you, ma'am. You're welcome. He said, info overload is a nice way to put it. Okay, but listen to the info. Listen to it, Eric. ERRT Radio says, Dr. Rita, your reading can relate to a few aspects, but mostly medical stuff. Okay. And then Amy says, I tried to remove the comment, but it didn't go away. Oh, well, you got a double dip today, Amy. So does that mean I get a double tip? Just kidding. Okay. And then ERRT Radio says, James will have to watch the video to see his card. Oh, yeah, that part. All right. Amy says, thank you for the additional reading and to everyone for their understanding. So happy I passed the test and can level up. I know, passing the test. Don't you hate the tests? Oh my God. The tests are like, oh, just shoot me now. But if you pass it, it's like, oh. Okay. James says, very interesting. Confirmed part of recent inner movement. Great. Thanks, James. Chris says, thank you. You are so welcome, Chris. And then Dawn says, Christine, you're absolutely beautiful. You'll be fine. Okay. So we have a few minutes left, but I'm down at the bottom of the list. Did anybody have any questions about self-discipline or willpower that they would like to ask, or a question, not a reading question, but just a general question? Amy said, yes, you so do deserve an additional tip. And yes, the test sucked. I had a test on Monday, all freaking day. Not this Monday, the Monday before. All freaking day. All one thing after another. And it's like, ugh, hate them. And then ERRT Radio says, great topic tonight. Thank you. You are so welcome, ERRT Radio. Let me turn that thing off. All right, guys. So I guess I'm going to go because I'm doing another I'm being interviewed on X Zone Radio at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. So I get like an hour and 10-minute break before I have to like be cute and Dr. Rita E for like another hour. Anyway, this show is brought to you by soulhealer.com. Reach out to me if you have things going on in your life where you need to get some guidance and insights. I would love to help you out. And it's also brought to you by the Institute of Applied Energetics. That's appliedenergeticsinstitute.com, where you can learn to become a medical intuitive counselor, or energy medicine practitioner. And you can download my free Jumpstart Your Intuition guide. So until next week's, I'm Dr. Rita Louise. This is Thursday Night Live. Be blessed.